Disclaimer time. This is where I tell everyone to lighten up. It's just a podcast. Trading is like that roller coaster at the amusement park. Thrilling, unpredictable, and potentially stomach-churning. What works for one person might leave another clutching their hat in the wind. Our hosts and guests, they're awesome, knowledgeable, full of insights, but we're not financial advisors. So don't rush to make any investment decisions based solely on our banter. Always consult with a professional or do your own research. Plus, let's face it, we like to have fun, laugh, enjoy the trading ride together. It's all in the name of good podcasting fun. So remember, take it easy, don't bet the farm, and keep your seatbelts on at all times. Thank you for listening. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the China Shop, home of the Band of Traders. I'm your host, Kyle, and joining me today is Brian McAboy, founder of Inside Out Trading and host of the Consistent Profits podcast. Brian, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. That was one of the most well thought out pitch letters I think I've ever received.
Oh, thanks, man.
Was that you I have to thank for that, or was it your planner? Because if it's your planner, he needs a raise.
Well, if he's using the template that I gave him, it was me.
Okay.
If he modified it, then I'd have yet to see it. So.
All right, fair enough. Well, Brian, do you have anything you want to plug or promote before we get started here?
Well, really, I mean, main thing I'd like doing is really just getting traders to focus on, developing yourself as a trader and consistency. Those I've found are the two biggest hits that you can make for yourself. So yeah, I mean, that's really like the biggest things. So
consistency is huge just in any aspect or anything that you try to do, like especially in podcasting. Consistency is like the number one key, I think, to being successful.
True.
Interesting that there's other parallels to that. I mean, I think that's a lot of things that we stress in our group is consistency to your process. Doesn't seem like there's as many people stressing that, though. So it's good to see.
Agreed. And really, one of the things that was real big for me in my life before trading, as a quality assurance manager in a manufacturing firm, consistency was like the biggest lesson I got out of that. And what really quality assurance is all built on. I like referring to it as the science of consistency. Quality assurance is all, I mean, a lot of people, you say quality to somebody, they're thinking, making a good product or delivering a good service. And it's like, yeah, that's a small part of quality.
Right.
Quality assurance is really about, being able to define your process and really build it for consistent output so that you have that reliability there.
Right.
And then, of course, being able to test it so that you know that it works. And then keep it under control. And what's really cool is that's what allowed me to save my trading. Because my first year I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I totally overestimated what trading was about, and thought I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't.
Right.
And after I blew up my account and kind of stepped back and was talking with a friend of mine, and she's like, Brian, what you do at the plant where you're making plastic beverage bottles, as quality manager. You guys run great there, and you're like at the top rankings, everything. So why don't you just take what you're doing there and see how you can apply it to your trading? And I'm like, duh. And as soon as I did, it was like, man, things all of a sudden settled down and got a whole lot easier. And I actually finally felt like I honestly knew what I was doing for a change, which was a refreshing difference because the whole time it's like, yeah, I'd have my wins and maybe even, hit a few in a row. And it's like that want to feel confidence was there, but at the same time, part of me also knew it's like, no, Brian, it's a lot of it's just luck. It's like
you always know deep down inside whether it's sustainable or not, don't you?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things I love doing with my kids, and like when I interview people for a job and there's a test that's to be taken, I love asking them. It's like, okay, so, as soon as they're handing in the test, it's like, so what do you think you scored? And it tells me a lot if somebody actually gives me a number or a grade.
Oh, really?
It's like, cool. You know what you know and you know what you don't know. And the people who just throw up their hands, it's like, okay, that kind of tells me something too. But with my kids, it's like I always told them, it's like, you should walk out of a test pretty much knowing what your grade is. You should know what you know, and what you don't know. That should be pretty clear too. And if you're way off, then that tells you, okay, your self-evaluation is off.
Well, that's something that's really tough for people to do, to self-evaluate. But it seems like it should be easy to know, okay, I didn't know the answer to that question. I didn't know the answer to that one. I nailed this one. I nailed this one. You should have kind of a ballpark in your head of how you did. But I think I'd be hard-pressed to give a number just because I don't like to provide estimates that are off base or that I have no confidence in, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and a lot of people are like that, and that's why a lot of times people say, I don't know. But it's interesting. I found that there are a lot of things that are quantifiable and reasonably accurately just by human nature. It's like, you can ask somebody, how do you rate your confidence on a scale of 1 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, just to kind of pull a number out of the air. That's like, no, it's just going to be a wild ass guess. But it's like, no, actually, that is something that you can reasonably quantify.
Hmm.
And that's one of my favorite questions to ask people when I first start coaching with them is, where's your confidence going to the market every day, knowing that you're okay?
Right.
On a scale of 1 to 10. And most of the time they're like, oh, about a 2.
Right.
But the cool thing is, when traders, do start to really honestly get a handle on it, it's a whole different ball game when you can sit there and honestly say, no, I'm at an 8 or a 9.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a handle on it. I actually know what I'm doing now, and I'm okay. And it's totally cool because it's an entirely different experience than a lot of traders ever get to enjoy.
Confidence is such a funny one too, because it's so fleeting sometimes. It seems like you'll have it for stretches of time, but then things kind of go against you for a little bit, and then suddenly you're questioning everything and you're ready to go back and throw all the work away and start over from scratch when, man, it's usually not the right answer.
Yeah, true. Well, see, that's where having proper training
Mm-hmm.
and real training comes into play. I know for me, when I first started out, I was really frustrated because there wasn't a whole lot of training, what I consider training to be a trader, available.
And there still really isn't, is there? I mean, there's people that have websites all over the place, but there's not like an accredited program you can go through. Like, unless you're a Future
True.
Farmer of America, I think they have some stuff to teach you how to navigate futures for selling crops, but that's about the only program I've ever heard of.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, there actually are some universities that are starting to teach it. I don't know if you've heard of John Foreman. Yeah, John Foreman. He's a trading educator that's been around for quite a few years. He's written a handful of books.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was actually teaching trading courses at a university.
Oh, I love that. What university? I'm going to go look up his class.
I'm trying to remember because I know he was coaching the girls' college volleyball team and teaching trading. I want to say it was either in one of the New England states or Europe. I don't remember which. It's been a while, but yeah, it's cool because I mean he's a sharp cat anyway. He was a market analyst at Reuters for several years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, so the guy knows what he's talking about.
Right.
But yeah, he was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, just as far as the training that's out there, most of the training that's out there is how to use a particular method or strategy.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Or how to be disciplined and focus on your psychology and stuff. That's most of the training that's out there. And yeah, I find that there's just a big gap on, no, this is how you be a trader.
Yes.
And focusing on these are the skills that you need as a trader to be good at it and know that you're good at it, like the foundational stuff.
What are some of those skills you'd categorize as foundational or fundamental or must have?
Well, some of the skills that traders need to have, and some of them sound a little on the fringe, but they actually are part of it. If you just look at the roles that a person has, if they decide to become a trader and they're trading their own money and that kind of stuff, the first thing is they're now an investor in a business. They're sitting there, they got money and they're like, okay, I want to put this money to work for myself somewhere. So do I want to start a brick and mortar business? Do I want to start a service business? Or do I want to start a trading business? And so there's that kind of skill set, just being able to approach the whole endeavor from that perspective. And there's a handful of skills that go with that, like, laying out your personal goals, your financial goals, being able to develop the criteria of what you even want to consider.
Right.
For me, yeah, when I first started trading, it was hilarious because I remember it's like within a month of opening my account, man, I'm getting calls from all kinds of, venture capital firms and stuff, soliciting investment. And I'm getting everything from, investing in movies to oil wells in, Kansas and Oklahoma
Really?
to, just all kinds of stuff. Well, and the thing is, they all sound sexy as hell, and a lot of them probably are worthwhile investments. And so the big lesson for me out of that was I needed to basically build my own criteria or list of criteria of what I would even consider from the get-go. Before we even are talking dollars, it's like, are there things that I want to be part of and not? And it's like movies and that's, that kind of stuff. but I had to put together a list of criteria. So I wound up coming up with 5 criteria that I can, questions I could ask. And so in like 30 seconds, I know whether or not to continue the conversation.
Right. It's interesting too that you mentioned is like a lot of the focus is on what you're going to trade or what investments you want to take, but you actually wrote out the things that you won't take. And I think that's an aspect that gets overlooked quite often.
Oh, yeah. Well, well, that's the thing. When you get into business or investing, there are so many choices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And I'll tell, people this if they've just plain having a really rough time, for an extended period of time with trading, sometimes I'll ask them, it's like, have you really considered other things? Because you've been beating your head on this horse for a long, on this rock for a long time. And, it isn't working out for you. You do realize that you literally have thousands of other places you could put your money and your time and probably get a really good return.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are like, well, no, not really. I'm not even aware, what are you talking about? And it could be everything from, starting up a small business, of any sort. It could be a roofing company. It could be a vending machine business. It could be ATMs. It could be, cleaning houses or detailing cars. There are tons of actually reasonably lucrative businesses that if you got, $10,000 to $50,000 instead of putting in a trading account, yeah, you could go put in these other businesses and get a pretty nice return.
Yeah, but then you don't get to trade though.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is,
yeah, I know.
Well, the thing is, once you start looking into it though, just like when you first, say, okay, I want to be a trader. Now it's like, wow, how do I filter down the new set of thousands of choices to, do I want to trade Forex? Do I want to trade crypto? Do I want to trade stocks or futures or, and once you make that choice.
Large cap, small cap.
Yeah, there's like a thousand choices as far once you start getting into the details. So the filters really are what you need before you ever place your first trade. So it's like, what are my criteria for getting it, for considering an investment? What are my financial objectives? That takes a skill set to be able to sit down and say, okay, and one thing that I haven't heard in a long time, it used to be more common, was the recommendation that before you start trading, that you maybe, grab an accountant and generate your personal financial statements, just so you know where you're at before you go dumping money into something. And talk. That's a good point. Yeah, you talk to that accountant and it's like, okay, how much would be wise for me to invest and what kind of expectations should I have?
Right. And is that is the rate of return that I need feasible is another one too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What kind of ROI do I want? Is it feasible to expect? And how long is it going to take to get my money back out of it? Because if you're going to be a really smart investor, you want to put your money into something for a while and get it up and where it's self-sustaining and producing profit on its own, but then you get your money back out of it so you can start another investment that now produces positive cash flow. So a lot of, it's good to be thinking in terms of, okay, I want to put my money into this, but I want to get it back out at some point and be able to invest it elsewhere and now have 2 assets and just keep adding assets to my portfolio. So ROI, payback period, realistic time frame. How long am I going to give this before I see a profit? One thing that always just cracks me up is, when I hear somebody talking trash, it's like, yeah, man, I'm a trader. We're a rogue bunch. We're risk takers, and it's like, no, you're not. No. Think about it. You want to say that you've got some cojones. You take $100,000 of your own money, you put it into a brick and mortar building that's going to take 6 months to a year to build before you ever get to see your first dollar of return, and you still don't know that it's going to make money. That takes some guts.
Yeah, starting a restaurant in New York City. That takes balls.
Yeah. So, to sit there and feel all cocky and stuff, it's like, no, from a financial perspective and personal investment and patience and all that kind of stuff, it's like, no, trading is cool because, the challenges aren't nearly as steep as they are in some other pursuits. So, but anyway, so back to some of the other, things that about being a trader, some of the skill sets you need to have. So, okay, so even once you filter through and it's like, okay, I've decided, I'm going to put this much in and this is my plan moving forward. And, just the general financial plan. Now you got to get into, how do I select, what I'm going to trade specifically, what strategy I'm going to use, what kind of hours I'm going to trade. There's a whole lot of other questions now you got to answer before you even start, placing trades. And so again, these are all just different aspects of it. So, you've got, you're the business investor, you're the business owner, you're the business startup planner and manager and a day-to-day manager, and now you're also the trading system analyst. It's like, okay,
Right.
I'm looking at all these trading systems. I got 50 emails a day for different webinars selling different strategies and stuff. It's like, how do I pick the right one or one that's right for me? And that's a skill set. Then there's a skill set of probably deploying it, and once you got it up and running, managing it. And if things don't go well, how do I fix it? These are all things that take skill and understanding and knowledge. And so, for people to just jump into it and say, I'm just going to trade, and it's like, no, there's a range of skills that go with this job.
Gotta have at least some kind of plan.
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny because I've even gotten in arguments with some trading psychology gurus, and one pretty well-known guy. I won't bring his name up, but it was funny because we got into this argument, and he's like, if somebody's struggling with their trading, it's because they've got some deep, subconscious psychological issue. And I'm like, well, my experience has been a little different. Most of the people I run across, they're pretty sharp, astute individuals and reasonably successful. What I've found is, they don't have psychological issues. They have lack of training issues. They're trying to do a job they don't know how to do. And when you got money on the line and you're taking a beating and you're trying to learn, that's rough.
That wasn't Rich Friesen, was it?
No.
Okay, good. I saw you talk to him. He's one of my favorites. We've had him on multiple times.
Oh yeah. He was fun to talk to. But yeah, as far as the psychology, as far as I'm concerned, here's one of my favorite examples.
Okay.
It's like if you take a person of reasonable intelligence and you throw them into a challenging activity that they don't have any previous experience or training for, it's probably going to be rough.
Yeah.
They're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's going to be stressful, and it's going to be really tough for it not to be an emotional experience.
Yep.
But if you take that same person and you give them proper and complete training where now, they know how to go do that job, they'll probably just go do their thing and be okay. And trading is no different. And this, it kind of all goes back to the Peter Principle. You remember that book from the 70s or 80s, whenever it was, came out?
Which one?
It's called The Peter Principle.
I don't think I've read that one. The Peter Principle?
Yeah, it's an older book. Yeah, this guy, Lawrence Peter, was commissioned to take a look at American businesses because it was kind of a thing that somebody was paying attention and saw that so many of the decisions being made in management in American businesses was like over 50% of the decisions that are made are wrong, and they have to go back and be fixed.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, so they're sitting there saying, it's like, what's going on? How can this be? It's not that everybody can be, so incompetent, and the nation and economy is in general be so successful. And so he got to digging into it, and what he found was it was the method of promotion was the big problem.
Yeah.
You'd have somebody start maybe, entry level or whatever, and, they hustle and they're smart and they're really doing well. And so, the positions open up and they get promoted, and, they're still hustling and they're again, they're really working at it, and they keep getting promoted until they hit that one position that they're just plain not good at. They're lacking the skills.
It's where they're supposed to be hands off, but they've been so used to going out and doing the work themselves, they can't pull themselves away and direct anymore now. Like there comes a level where you have to be able to step back and see the whole picture. You can't be, arms deep in the equipment trying to fix it yourself when you've got 5 other guys working for you. You need to be able to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Well, the lesson that came out of the book was that before you promote somebody, do a skills assessment, because just because somebody's a good mechanic doesn't mean they're a good supervisor or a good manager.
Yep. You need people skills. Yep.
Yeah. Those positions require an entirely different skill set. And so the Peter prescription that went with it was, again, you do a skill assessment before you promote somebody. And if there are gaps, you train them up on the gaps. And now your person will continue to be successful. But otherwise, the Peter Principle, and it's hilarious because for a long time it was pretty well known. The Peter Principle says that in any organization, a person will rise to their level of incompetence and then remain there. And it's like, you'll keep getting promoted until you're just not really doing that well anymore. And I like that perspective because, like I said, a lot of traders outside of trading, they're rather successful people, business people, professionals, engineers, but you throw them into trading and it's like, no, they're not prepared for this. And like we were talking about, some of the skills as far as being a trader, one of my favorite questions to ask people when I when I'm first starting to help them is, have you ever started and run your own business before?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say no, I've always worked for somebody else, it's like that lets me know that they have two learning curves to go through now.
Right.
You got to learn how to trade, and you've got to learn how to plan and start up and manage a business, because that's a whole separate learning curve. But if they say, yeah, I have run my own business before, that's like, cool. This is encouraging, because now we just need to fix your trading.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So what about someone like me who hadn't done that before, but my wife has, and she's the one who helps me with a lot of the stuff that I do?
Well, a lot of it that comes from it is when you do start up your own business, you learn a lot of the hard lessons that traders do. I mean, the parallels
Yes.
between small business owners and traders it's a pretty long list.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton of parallels. And so, like your wife, I'm sure she's been able to share some perspectives with you that have been very helpful in your trading. Like,
oh yes,
have a plan going into it, like a bigger picture plan going into it. Have the patience to let things develop and understand that there will be a cycle to things. Just like when you're starting up a small business, you're like, you put up a brick and mortar store and maybe you're selling surfboards, let's say.
right.
Well, if you've never been in that business before, you've just been a surfer, well, now you're going to have to learn some things about that business and your sales cycle and managing inventories and marketing and all that kind of stuff. You're going to go through learning and development cycles with all those different things.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn that, okay, you've got to give it time to develop, but then also know when you're just kind of wasting your time and you need to pivot and change direction. So it's balancing the patience and impatience. Again, that's just part of starting up a business. You have to know when to just, kind of keep plugging along. Don't be too impatient and jump from one thing to the next. But then also know when you're just kind of wasting your time. You need to look at something else. That's a big lesson for traders, because it's so easy to let, a year or 2 years or 5 years slip by. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm really not doing anything different than I was then. And it's like, okay, yeah, I need to step back and say, I need to do something pretty dramatically different. Just changing systems, that ain't going to fix it anymore.
Yeah.
So,
longtime fans of the show should be familiar with the lender formerly known as Sue Pullen, and I'm pleased to announce that she's back, fresh off a rebrand and ready to help as Sue Mackey. Sue is a certified mortgage advisor at Fairway Independent Mortgage, an equal housing lender who focuses on finding the right product for you and your needs. She has over 20 years of experience helping thousands of homeowners. Whether it's purchasing, refinancing, or even a reverse mortgage, Sue will help. Sue's licensed in 36 states now, so reach out and let Sue Mackey it happen for you. The best way to reach her is just give her a call at 520-977-7904 or in an email, spullen@fairwaymc.com. Fairway Independent Mortgage has an MLS number of 2289. Sue Mackey has an MLS number of 206048. That email again, spullen@fairwaymc.com, and that phone number is 520-977-7904. Shoot Sue an email and let her know she needs to update that address. That's one of the things that I've struggled with, I think, is just, how to phrase this, like feeling that stagnation over periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have anything, like I journal daily, I mean, I do trade reviews, I try to keep notes of everything that happens, so that way I've got data that I can go back and look at. So 6 months from now, I can go and look and see, oh, was I doing anything different? Have I made any progress, or am I still doing the same things?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's just having something to close that feedback loop is kind of huge to being able to overcome that feeling.
Oh yeah,
because it's an easy trap to fall into. Like 3-4 weeks, and then suddenly you feel like, am I learning anything? Am I doing anything? You start questioning everything, but you gotta have that data, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you want to know if because personally, I'll go through phases with journaling. I've never been able to do it like sustainably for the longest time. I just kind of get bored with it.
I understand that.
and some people that I've talked to, they're the same way. It's like, I know I probably should be journaling, but I just kind of like jogging. It's like I know I should jog, but
I can't jog.
I get bored too fast.
Yes,
interval running I can do, but jogging kill me now.
Yes.
Anyway, with journaling, one thing that you can do, and it actually is kind of a good in between, and it's still pretty effective. If you're struggling with journaling, skip the journaling and do a weekly report to yourself.
Right.
Or a bi-monthly or monthly report to yourself. Again, like you're reporting to a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can kind of go ahead and summarize your information and everything. You don't have to get way off in the weeds, with individual trades and stuff like that, but where you're just looking at, okay, yeah, this is what I'm doing as far as, managing the business and, managing myself as a trader. And these are some of the challenges I'm running into. And these are some of the wins. But you just do like a one, maybe 2-page, like I said, periodic report where you talk about the activities and again, wins and losses and opportunities and stuff. But then also include, your metrics, just like you would in a business report.
Yeah.
It's like, over this last week, this is my win rate, this is my profit loss ratio, and of course, bottom line. And, this is what was going on, why it happened, and, maybe what I need to change next week or, review and that kind of stuff. But even if it's just a weekly report that only takes a half an hour, that's something that can be a whole lot more sustainable when you build it into part of your weekly routine. I like doing mine either on Thursday afternoons or Friday afternoons. And it's a good way to wrap up the week and, kind of get that, like you were talking about, a good feedback loop so that you don't just let time pass.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know about you, man, but one of the most frustrating things for me is to have months or sit down at the end of a year and say, there was this one thing and, I just really wanted to have this happen and damn, where did the year go?
Right. Or what was that one thing? I can't even remember.
Yeah. It's easy to let happen.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I said, the parallels between small business and trading, there's a lot we can borrow from a small business owner that really is extremely helpful in trading. And so, yeah, if your wife's got the business background, yeah, I imagine that's, if you are talking about what's going on with your trading with her, yeah, that can be very helpful.
I don't think I've let her in too much of the business side of it. I've learned a lot from her from doing the podcast and learning about, sustainable growth and putting plans together and that kind of stuff. But I think maybe I'll let her do some reviews on some of the stuff I put together, see if she has some different thoughts, because she definitely has that skill set.
Yeah.
It's silly not to take advantage of it, right?
Yeah. Well, and you can just kind of, frame it for her ahead of time. It's like, from a business perspective,
yeah, I like
what do you think of this? And what I also do once a year is I'll sit down with my trading and I put together a business plan for the coming year. And as the year goes along, I'll also see how I'm tracking toward that business plan.
Yep.
And at the end of the year, I look back over the year and it's like, wow, okay. So yeah, what I do well, what do I want to change in this year coming up? Do I want to change my goals? Do I want to change, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, how much time I'm spending on it, all that kind of stuff. So, and again, these are just kind of standard business practices.
Right. I kind of want to go back to your background in quality assurance, because you mentioned that and like how that led to your focus on systems and consistency. But are there any other lessons or any other ways that background influenced your trading?
Oh, yeah. Well, just the consistency in general. I mean, my degree in college was mechanical engineering. And one of the big frustrations for engineers is, you can design a machine or a plant layout or whatever, and it'll be perfect on paper and just work amazingly well.
Right.
But once you throw people into the mix and, you throw it out there in the real world, everything blows up. And it's like, okay.
Why is that inspection hatch over there? I can't get to it. Yeah.
But what I loved about quality assurance is how you make things work with people in the middle of the mix. And, you say quality assurance, some people will think about, like SPC or, black belt, green belt, that kind of stuff. But really the brunt of my time at the manufacturing plant where I was working before and what I'm helping right now is working with the people and getting all our procedures and practices documented and tweaked so that we get good, consistent performance according to best practices. And in trading, like I said, what I teach people is how to take what you're doing and really get it well defined for consistency so that it gets easy to execute and execute consistently and get consistent results with it. And then how to properly test it so that you know how it works, how good it is, the way it is, not just is it profitable or not, but, what are its strengths and weaknesses, and how to develop confidence with it, how to mentally train yourself to be good with that system.
So do you actually write your own, say, standard operating procedures then for your trading, systems or plans or?
Absolutely.
So what does that kind of look like then? How does that, say you had a setup that you like to trade, how would you go about defining a standard operating procedure for that?
Well, okay.
Is that a little too much or too broad?
No. No, I love it because another one of my favorite questions to ask people, and I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
What is a trading system?
A trading system. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'd say it's just a process that you consistently follow that has positive expectation.
Okay. That's a good answer. When I first started asking that, it cracked me up because the very common answers that I would get would be, well, it's my rules, or, it's my rules, my indicators. And, maybe every now and then somebody throw in charts as well. And my response to them would be like, well, that is a valid perspective, but those are really just tools that you use in your trading system.
Right.
Your trading system is what you do.
Right.
That's your trading system. And if you have a well-defined system, well, then you'll be able to get consistent results with it, because you'll remove yourself as one of the variables.
That's the goal.
And, oh yeah. Well, that's one of the other things with quality assurance and achieving consistency is, first of all, you have to get clear on what you're doing, and then you go through the process of eliminating built-in inconsistencies and opportunities for error. That's like quality assurance, like super boiled down.
Right.
But like I said, when I applied it to my trading and the people that I've taught it to, it's like, this is so perfect for traders because this is exactly what we're struggling with.
Yeah. No, I love that. Are there any books or anything that kind of talk through like the quality assurance, like methodologies and things where people can learn more?
Well, I've actually got one in the works that I'm wanting to finish up and get published this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking specifically to this.
I love that.
It's in the works.
You need to finish that up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with consistency, and again, this is where I like just trying to, get the right perspective across to people, is if you can take a mediocre trading system or, just an average trading system. It doesn't have to be, wildly, profitable, but just a decent trading system. And if you execute it well and consistently, it will outperform a great system executed inconsistently.
Yes.
So you want to focus on consistency first. A lot of traders, they go about it backwards. They say, everybody says they want, consistent profits. It's like the magic buzzword you see on every website. Doesn't matter what it is. They can be selling shoes and they say, with consistent profits. But the thing is, it's like, if you want consistent profits, well, focus on consistency first, because if you have a consistent process, that's fairly easy to adjust and make it more profitable. But if you don't have the consistency, if your trading's all over the place, that's hard to fix. So, and most traders go about it backwards. It's like, I want to find a system and to get profitable, and then I'll figure out how to stay disciplined to it. It's like, no, establish the consistency first, then dial it in for profit. That's how you make life easy.
Do you have any tips for people that are trying to build that sort of habit of being able to consistently follow a process? Because I think that's something that people tend to struggle with too. You can hand them all the materials, and if they don't believe in it, then they're just going to go off and do their own thing anyway.
Yeah.
Or as soon as they get the first little bit of, oh, this doesn't feel good, they're going to abandon it quickly. True.
And again, part of this goes back to, becoming a successful trader. One of the toughest things about trading is, and I was guilty of it too, is not pursuing outside help. One of the big lessons for me in my first year was, I had this kind of false overconfidence about it, but here I am trying to train myself for the most part, just mostly studying other strategies and stuff, or, discipline tricks or, mind hacks. I'm sort of trying to train myself, and my problem is I don't know what I don't know.
Yep.
And I can't see what I can't see. So I'm my own limitation. And I really need to seek out somebody, who's already, gotten past the hurdles that I'm facing, so that they can show me what I can't see and teach me what I don't know. And that's how you actually can get past this stuff. But if you're just trying to wrestle it on your own, it's like you're going to be your own limitation until you get some good help becoming the trader that you want to become.
Right.
Because that's really what it is all about. Trading is a mental game. And so it's who you are as a trader, mentally and skill-wise coming to this game. And if you've got the right mindset and you've got the skill set and you've, been through the right training so that you got that mental conditioning that, sets you up to succeed, that's when you're the trader that's going to make it. But like my first, again, lessons from my first year, not only was I not getting good training, I was getting bad training.
Right.
Because every day I'm going to the markets and I'm just practicing bad trades and bad trading and chasing the markets and getting pissed off and revenge trading and just practicing bad stuff all the time. But in that practicing, that was the training that I was getting, and that's what was wiring my head.
Yes.
Is all these perspectives and responses and associations and all that kind of stuff. So from a psychology perspective, my thing is, it's like, some people, they'll come to me and they're like, Brian, I got a good strategy. I just can't seem to stick to it. What I need to fix is me.
Mm-hmm.
There must be something wrong with me. And it's like, no, as a person, you're okay. You've already proven that you can be successful, that you can have money
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. So as a person, you're okay. What's wrong is you had this crappy start that wired your head wrong.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is change your experience so that we can rewire your head, undo the damage that's been done, and rewire your head so that now you can go to you can go to the markets every day, knowing that you have a solid system, knowing that you're okay trading it, and knowing that you're okay. And no matter what happens today, end of the month, end of the year, you're going to be okay because now you know what you're doing, and you're not operating from a position of fear and doubt and weakness. You're operating from a position of strength and knowing and confidence, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Do you have any tips or suggestions or any ways to help people kind of shift that thinking or to help unwire some of those bad habits? I know you got a lot of material on the website. You don't have to give it all away, but maybe just a little teaser.
Well, probably the first real big shift is recognize that you probably didn't get proper training for this job.
Yeah.
And go ahead and say, there are things that I probably need to know that I'm ignorant of right now. I'm not stupid, but there are things that nobody's shown me that would really be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And once I can learn those things and develop the skills that I need to, now I can become the trader that trades confidently and makes money. And when things aren't going great, I can weather the storm and it doesn't ruin my day or take a toll on my personal life. Because I'm coming from a whole different position. I mean, this one guy that I worked with last year, he was an absolute blast to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually he'd had a decent measure of success. I mean, he even had a following on Twitter and everything, and like a paid group, because he had been successful for a while and was doing well. And then it all crashed on him.
Right.
And when he and I were talking during our first phone call, he even he was telling me that he had a method that he knew was good. He'd had a good measure of success with it and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I'm the guy to help you. You may have some subconscious thing that's sabotaging you right now, and maybe I should recommend you to this hypnotherapist colleague of mine. And he says, well, yeah, I've thought about that. And he says, but okay, well, tell me about what you do. And I said, well, here's what I do. I teach you like the skills of trading and kind of get you that good solid foundation and take you through a period of about 8 weeks where, you're going to be doing things differently than you have. And we're going to change your experience and rewire your head and your emotional responses. And that's what he decided to do. And when we came out of it, he was like, that's what I was missing. He said, even when I was doing well and thought I was, really, king shit and all that, he's like, no, I realized that's why I wound up sabotaging myself, because I knew that there was something still missing.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like, where are you at on the confidence scale? He says, I'm at a 10. I know what the hell I'm doing now. And nothing scares me anymore. I'm not intimidated by the markets at all. It's like, cool.
That's a little scary too, though. Overconfidence can be a thing too.
Oh, agreed. Overconfidence.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite stories from when my oldest son was young and he was playing t-ball. His coach, the guy was a scream. He'd been like a semi-pro player, and so the guy knew what he was doing when it came to baseball. And his son was pretty good, and my son was pretty good. And we were at the field practicing one day, and he's just for grins. He's like, well, let's see if these guys can turn a double play. We're talking like 5-year-old boys.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And between the two of them, it's like, these guys, both of them are good. And it's like, they're turning double plays. And it's like, damn, this is cool. And I looked at him and he just gave me this grin and he's like, yeah, it's pretty freaking cool when kids get stud. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, just when you get good at something and you're good.
Yeah. You can see the confidence, the swagger.
Yeah, you got that swagger. And it's like, you're good. It's not a false overconfidence. It's not a, just smugness or ego. It's like, you're good and you know it. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. And I love it when I see it in traders too, where it's like, because a lot of times with traders, it doesn't come across as, any kind of like egotistical arrogance or anything like that. It's just that solid confidence, that knowing, deep down in their bones. It's like, yeah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And if I lost it all tomorrow, I'm not worried about it. I could start over.
I should say, I bet the difference is that it's confidence in themselves. It's not confidence in any specific trade or idea or
Oh yeah,
thesis. I think that's where the differentiator is. Like when you start getting confident about an entry, that's when you need to start worrying.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You nailed it right there. It's
Hmm.
confidence in yourself. Yeah, and as far as going in and wrapping things up, I mean, yeah, it's not a bad stopping point right now because, like I said at the beginning, I mean, the two main things for me, as far as best advice I can give traders is, focus on consistency and focus on developing yourself as a trader. Because if you'll do those two things, that will get you as far as anything else.
Yep.
If you're serious about it being a successful trader, focus on those two things, and that will serve you as well as anything I can offer you.
I love that. Last thing I want to ask before we wrap this up then is just about the podcast. Where can people find you? What do you guys talk about? Any favorite episodes or guests that you've had in the past that you want to point people towards?
Well, you mentioned Rich Friesen.
I love Rich. Yeah, I've done a lot with him.
Yeah, he was a blast. Yeah, I've had a lot of good people on my show. I've been very, very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the Consistent Profits podcast, and generally what I do when I bring people on there, we'll talk about their history, their area of specialty.
Yep.
But I always like talking about, the lessons that they've learned along the way, and as far as how to be a good trader, and as far as fighting the issues of just life as a trader, what's their best advice, on overcoming those particular issues, because there's the list of challenges that traders have. It can seem like a really long list, but it's like, no, the individual things that happen is kind of a long list. But if you look at like the root causes, that's a fairly short list. And, if you can attend to those things and keep your focus on those things and not be just, chasing, making money, then yeah, it'll go a long way. And that's why I like getting different perspectives, different trading veterans perspectives on the matter. I've had some guys totally surprise me with their view on things.
Yeah.
Ray Barrows was pretty cool. That was one of my favorite episodes, and got a ton of replays on that one. I don't know if you're familiar with Ray. He's been in the game for a long time, neat guy. And of course Norman Howlett, he's buddy of mine. I've known him since 2006. He was actually one of the guys that helped me get off the ground, and he's been forever in the game as the disciplined trader, sharp guy, good guy. And so, yeah, those are a handful of my favorites. And of course, Casey and Etienne, I got to give them credit too. They've been in this game a long time. Good guys, take good care of their people, got their heart in the right place, and however they can help people, that's what they're here for. So,
well, with the message like that, we will definitely be friends, because that's our favorite. I mean, you learn more from the losses and failures than you do from your successes, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Although, like we were talking about, learning from people who figured out some of the things that we haven't yet, it's good to connect with them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like, okay,
I've said
we've all got the L's. You got a couple of wins that I can borrow from.
right. Well, I want to know how you overcame the struggles. That's the part that I am always fascinated in. What worked for you? Where did you struggle in the beginning, and how did you overcome that? Like that's where the good lessons are.
Yeah, true.
Well, unfortunately, though, I think it is time to say goodbye to Brian here, but there is no reason to be disappointed, because if you enjoyed today's conversation and you still want more, all you have to do is visit InsideOutTrading.com, and you will find plenty of free content and well over 60 episodes of the Consistent I can keep on throwing an extra S in there. The Consistent Profits podcast to browse through. We'll have all those links in the episode description, and I'll be back soon with another exciting episode. But until then, remember that the key to success is consistency. So consistently tell your friends about our show, and have a great day.
Thanks for having me on, man.
This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute financial or investment advice and should not be construed as such. The hosts, guests, and contributors of this podcast are not licensed financial advisors, brokers, or professionals. Any trading or investment decisions made based on the content of this podcast are solely at the listener's discretion and risk. Trading and investing in financial markets carry inherent risks, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Listeners should conduct their own research and seek advice from qualified financial professionals before making any financial decisions. The views, opinions, and information shared in this podcast are those of the individual contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the podcast creators or associated organizations. Produced by China Shop Productions.